My wife cheated, so I tricked her into publicly admitting to having the affair and having an STD. In college, I met the woman who I thought was my one. We dated for about 2 years and had a big wedding after a 10-month engagement. Her family was pretty well-to-do in a small southern town. We were both continuing our educations, and I was also working to support us. I was pursuing a master's in engineering while she was finishing her doctorate in anthropology. Over the summer, an opportunity came up for her to make some extra money going as an aide on a religious studies trip to Jamaica. I didn't hesitate when she asked me about it. I mean, she was going to visit Jamaica and get paid for it. I saw no downside other than missing her being at home for 6 weeks. Little did I know at the time, she had been doing it with the professor the whole time. He had hung out with us, smoked with us, drank with us, and I considered him a friend. He arranged the trip for a couple of months, and it was a big getaway for them to bang all over the island. I was clueless and happy went about the weeks while she was gone, taking extra shifts so I could match what she made in our account and surprise her. What a dummy I was, right? One of the students from the trip actually seeked me out to clue me in. I didn't believe him until I started looking for evidence on my own. I broke down and checked her text while she was sleeping and there was nothing there. There was also a few VMs, so I decided to listen and there it was. A message from the giant jerk saying how excited it was that I almost caught them. I opened up her laptop and hit the emails after that. It was piles and piles of stuff, making fun of me for not knowing, doing it in our bed and laughing about it. There was so much and I was so heartbroken. Still, I was too hurt to take any action. I was lost. I had no idea what to do, so I sat on it for a couple of weeks and acted normally as I could. I noticed everything now. I felt so stupid for not seeing it before. There were so many signs. One stuck out in particular. I noticed that our stash of homemade weed lube was going down even though we weren't doing it. It was obvious they were also using the fruits of my labor to do it more effectively. This really pissed me off, like unreasonably so. Hulk mad. It finally all hit me. I was a joke to these jerks and they were using the lube that I made and doing it in my bed. I didn't hurt anymore. I just wanted to make them hurt. So, while she was studying at the library, I made a new batch of lube. I put enough weed in it for it to smell like normal, but I also added some poison ivy from our backyard to the mixture. And after refilling the spray bottle we used for application, I waited. A few days go by, and I'm working extra so I can be out of the house more, and bam, bait taken. That night, after she goes to sleep, my plan goes into action. I sneak her phone away and delete my contact while replacing his phone number in his contact as mine. I go to bed, but I can't sleep because it feels like I'm 5 years old and tomorrow is Christmas. Dawn arrives, and she's in the shower. I get a text. I'm super itchy. Are you okay? Now, Lord, this is my time. I texted back, look, I thought I had cleared up, but I had a flare up. I'm sorry, but I have STDs and I guess you do now too. I heard her squeak in the shower. I'm covering my mouth, damn near losing it. After she came out, I went on to tell her that it was time to end things now. A new semester was about to start and I kind of have a little crush on another TA. I wanted her mad. This is a woman that never got told no growing up and never had to deal with rejection, let alone from a balding dude in his 50s with STDs. When she got out of the shower, it was obvious she had been crying, but I could see the anger in her eyes. I could see how uncomfortable she was, squirming at the table, drinking coffee, mulling the situation over. Another nudge is what she needed. The reply she got to her pages and pages of anger and sadness was, thanks for the good times, but can you keep this a secret between us? I don't want to ruin my chances with anyone else. She's flushed with anger now, just seething. She gathered her keys and headed out the door without even saying goodbye. I knew where she was going. I booted up her laptop, set it to reformat, deleted her dissertation and any notes pertaining to it before following her to campus. I parked a few lots over and rushed over to his office where I find her screaming at him for giving her the STDs. There's a lot of people there, professors, aides, students, other faculty. I'm dying. He is beyond embarrassed and confused. She is ugly crying in front of her peers and I'm in heaven. I didn't even care that people were going to think that I also had it. The fallout was apocalyptic in their department. He lost his job due to a code of conduct violation at the university. We got divorced the following year. State law was we had to be separated for 1 full year before being granted a divorce. I got to keep most of the assets, primarily savings, not a ton, but I worked for it. She never finished her doctorate and went on to be a perpetually pregnant housewife that sells Herbalife on Facebook, and he now teaches high school. It took a few years for it all to unfold, but watching it happen was glorious. Was I the jerk? So this is another story that all around everyone here is horrible. This is just depressing. You hear the ex-wife and she's living out this entire thing with her professor with no care as to the safety or what would happen or the fact that she's deceiving the person that she's married to that's working overtime in order to get extra money. And on the flip side, I mean, I don't really know how you would react to this in a way that was okay. may, but this seems pretty bad as well. I mean, he deleted her entire dissertation and then later on says that she never got her doctorate. Maybe this was the reason for that, or maybe not. It's hard to tell because we only see this one little glimpse of it. But on top of that, the guy lost his job, which you could argue maybe he deserved it, maybe he didn't. But the whole psychological trauma of making the phone number switched around so that she thought that he was texting him and he was telling her all this stuff. I mean, that's got to be pretty brutal. Maybe not as bad as actually being the one that this was happening to if you were the one that was being cheated on, but that's got to be pretty bad. And he makes no mention of it in this post, but it's got to only be a matter of time until she finds out that he's the one that did all of this. I mean, she obviously would have gone afterwards to go get tested, and then she's probably going to be confused as to, wait, I don't have these STDs? What is this? And then maybe she wouldn't know that poison ivy was the thing behind it, but she would probably think something. Eventually, she would wonder why she didn't have her husband's phone number on her phone and why that phone number was attached to the professor. So I can't imagine that she didn't put two and two together and find out that it was him eventually. But let me know what you guys would do if you're in this situation, and who do you think was the biggest jerk in this whole mess? Steal my money, take my house, put me into debt. Now it's time for me to ruin your life. My ex stole from me close to 90,000 euros, which I saved up for 9 years. And when I took her to court, I lost due to lack of evidence. At the moment, I felt destroyed and lost it all. She even sued me for emotional damage and I had to pay 55,000 euros, so I was forced to sell my house and take a big loan from the bank. I stayed at a friend's house and he helped me find some good lawyers. And we just found an amazing one. In one day, he helped me so much and even helped me get the info of who took money from my bank account. Something was wrong. 29th of June, a transaction happened in my name. I never made it. I was not in the country at the time. Well, would you look at that? I was ready to get back into court when I found out that she had bought my house. Well, I have a safe that I never told her about hidden in the bathroom behind the cabinet. Well, she ruined my life. Why not ruin hers even more? So I had an accomplice to help me buy some drugs worth about 400 euros and used a friend to hide it there. The safe has a 4-digit code, that being 0000. I never got to change it to something else, and before taking her to court again, I had that same friend who hid the drugs turn her in. It took about a week for the cops to receive a mandate to search the house. They found nothing in the first 2 hours, and they wouldn't if my friend hadn't forgot to leave the safe cover open. That 400 euro worth of drugs equals to a 5,000 euro fine and 12 years of prison. Well, I'm not done yet. Court time again. I had my lawyer get footage from when the money from the bank was transferred, and I also had a document showing that I was not in the country at the time. We also found out the account to which the money was sent to. The name was that of my ex. Well, look how the tables have turned. My lawyer also demanded payment for emotional damage, all the money that was stolen, the house, and also money equivalent to 2 times the debt I had in the bank, which is equal to about 140,000 euros. The look on her face when everything came down crashing on her was totally worth it. And on top of the 12 years from drug possession, she received an additional 25 years for theft and false testimony. Enjoy it, B. Well, this seems insane. Her stealing the money from him is obviously horrible, but him hiding the drugs in her new house, I guess his old house, is pretty awful. You're setting up someone to fall for a crime that they didn't even do. I think that going back and finding out that she was the one that transferred the money without you knowing is probably enough. I feel like this is way too far beyond, kind of not even really getting even if that's what he's trying to do, but going way beyond that. It's sad to see people that used to be in a relationship do this to each other, and even to go as far as everything that happened here. But let me know what you would do if you were in this situation, or if you have been, what happened, and who is the biggest jerk in this whole nuclear revenge scenario. A homophobe insulted my daughter. I may have ended his marriage. So my daughter is a 15-year-old that has been friends with a girl who lives opposite for years now, and in the past there have been some sleepovers at both of our houses. Adults have always stopped and chatted when we saw each other, etc. Last year my daughter came out of the closet, and a short while later we noticed that our friends across the road never seemed to want to chat anymore. Recently my daughter told me her friend had messaged her to tell her she wasn't allowed around our house anymore. Yesterday I saw them on the side of the road and I decided I was going to have a friendly chat to see if we could resolve the issue. It didn't stay friendly for very long. The dad was acting oddly agitated when I brought it up and ended by saying, quote, "I'm not letting your cute daughter try and do stuff to my daughter. Just because you raised a freak doesn't mean we all have to like it." Now for the next part, it's important to know 4 things. Number 1, the dad had been working home since the pandemic started. Number 2, his wife hasn't. and works each day. Number 3, I have been working from home due to an injury for a few weeks now. And number 4, I've seen the woman who visits for a few hours a couple times a week, and I've seen him smack her butt as she leaves. I try and stay nice and calm. I take a breath and then I press the button. I calmly explain to the dad that just because my daughter is gay doesn't mean that she would be trying to make a move on her friend. After all, I say, men and women can be friends without it being frisky, just like you and the blonde girl who keeps coming around. He got mad and started calling me some amazing names as his wife stomped back to their house. I'm guessing things got pretty bad as he left the house less than an hour later with a suitcase and a big gym bag and drove off, tires screeching. I do feel sorry for the daughter, and if I'm honest, and only for her, I did wish afterwards I'd keep my mouth shut. I'm not sorry for him though. Was I the jerk? In this situation, I feel bad for both of the daughters, for the OP's daughter for having to deal with all of this and being singled out because of her orientation, as well as the friend's daughter as well, because she also has to deal with the dad that is reacting like this, not only with this whole situation, but also that is fooling around on the side with some other woman that is not her mom. I mean, it seems like the two girls in this are the ones that have to deal with the worst aspect of this entire thing. The OP actually does say that if he's honest, afterwards he wished that he kept his mouth shut, which is interesting, but let me know what you do if you were in this situation and who is the biggest jerk between all of the characters.